This is 7 News Good Morning Fort Sill.
Well, good morning and welcome to your Friday edition of Good Morning Fort Sill. We have a great show today, but let's kick it over to Michael for the forecast for PT this morning. You know, Michael, it was pretty foggy when I drove in this morning. Obviously, we could probably expect that throughout the morning until at least the sun comes up, right?
Yes, a few areas are experiencing some patchy fog, and some of that fog has lifted up into the sky, so we're seeing generally low clouds across the area. In the upper levels, it is pretty dry as our upper level storm system continues to pull away, but currently at Fort Sill, it is 56 degrees, mostly cloudy skies, a few areas of some patchy fog. A lot of these are low level clouds, and temperatures will still be in the 50s for the most part. We may dip into the lower 50s by the time we get to around 7 a.m., and then we'll be rising into the upper 50s to near 60 degrees by the time we get to the latter morning hours. Satellite and radar, we're pretty clear right now. Most of the precipitation has moved off towards the north and northeast, and you can see our upper level low continue to push off towards the north and to the northeast away from us, drying us out. Looking at our rain totals over the past 24 hours, anywhere from about a quarter of an inch to an inch was noted across the area. Heavier amounts towards the southeast near the Dallas-Fort Worth area. When you combine Wednesday's rain totals, anywhere from an inch to a couple inches from this storm system. Looking at the almanac, yesterday we hit a high of 75 degrees, still well above average for this time of year. And elsewhere we hit a high of around 71 in Wichita Falls, 72 in Duncan, 71 in Elk City, 72 in Altus.
Thanks, Michael. Well, the turkeys aren't even in the oven yet, but it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas in our nation's capital. Reporter Molly Martinez joins us now from Joint Base Andrews outside of Washington with the incredible journey of one very special tree.
This 53-foot red fir, dubbed Silver Bell from the Silver State, has had quite a journey from Nevada. That includes 18 stops and 3,800 miles. But now she's almost home.
First of all, this is the first tree ever to come from Nevada since the tradition of the capital tree coming from the U.S. Forest Service since 1970.
Duncan Lau was tasked with getting this jolly green giant across the country. He says just like your Christmas tree at home, a lot goes into picking the perfect one.
Symmetrical all the way around, has full branches, very stout branches to hang ornaments, is green. It's healthy and free of any kind of insects or disease.
Keeping her evergreen was another challenge. The team fashioned an 80-gallon bag at her trunk to keep her quenched.
Silver Bell drank somewhere around 15 to 30 gallons a day, depending on how warm it was, how thirsty she was, and that's what kept her fresh.
As part of the celebration of her arrival, 84 Lumber is giving away 84 trees to servicemen.
We bring a lot of airmen who are young and don't have families, and you make your family in the military sometimes because you are away. And so to have a holiday event here like this, they're getting to come out and start with the holiday spirit early on.
After her last hurrah at Joint Base Andrews, she'll reach her final destination at the foot of the Capitol. In Washington, I'm Molly Martinez.
Turning our attention to Fort Sill, Miss Julia Sibylla, the deputy to the Garrison Commander, and Garrison Command Sergeant Major Jared English laced up their walking shoes and led the November walking town hall through the Medicine Bluff housing area on post. Together, they knocked on doors, checked on families, listened to concerns, and offered on-the-spot help wherever they could. Fort Sill's Garrison Command team says that these walking town halls aren't about clipboards and checklists. They're about showing up face-to-face to remind families that they matter and they're not alone in this journey. Well, Fort Sill is inviting the community to come out for a festive afternoon full of holiday cheer with a traditional German Christmas market. The market will run today from 3 till 8 p.m. at the Patriot Club. There will be plenty of goodies to buy, food trucks, and much more. You can even get a photo with Santa Claus himself. That event will be capped off with a tree lighting ceremony at 5:30. It's open to the public, but it's on post, so you must have a real ID to get in. Well, the Comanche Indian Veterans Association is planning to give out Thanksgiving food baskets for U.S. Army National Guard soldiers that are at Fort Sill who are still feeling the effects of the government shutdown. That event will be taking place on Monday, though the time and location is still to be determined. You can make sure to follow the CIVA on Facebook for more information. And a number of local organizations have banded together to ensure that the men and women in uniform on Fort Sill have a happy holiday season. The FISTA and the Air Defense Artillery Association partnered with Arvest Bank, the Friends of Fort Sill, and other groups to prepare Thanksgiving meals for soldiers. Each of the sponsor groups donated some food and holiday essentials, and yesterday volunteers packed up those donations for Thanksgiving meal boxes. Organizers say that they expect to distribute boxes to more than 150 soldiers and families on post.
We felt the importance of, in this time of need, we've seen so many wonderful community members step up and stand forward in order to support our community, that we wanted to make sure we were supporting our friends at Fort Sill, the soldiers who defend our freedoms every day, and make sure they have a healthy and hearty meal on Thanksgiving for their family.
Always love to see our community coming out to support our soldiers and their families. FISTA and the sponsor groups coordinated with Fort Sill to identify the soldiers and families in need this holiday season. Well, we're now less than less than a week away from Thanksgiving, and there's probably going to be a lot of people coming and going from the installation, maybe even family members visiting who aren't super familiar with the area. With that in mind, Fort Sill sharing the gate schedule for the holidays well ahead of schedule. Thursday, November 27th is a federal holiday for Thanksgiving, and you'll only be able to get on and off the installation using Bentley Gate and Key Gate West. All other gates, as well as the Apache Visitor Welcome Center, will be closed that day. Then next Friday, a training holiday, and more gates will be open that day. Key Gate East and the 52nd Street Gate, however, will remain closed. Those gates will also be closed on Saturday, and you can see there are some special gate hours for Apache and Scott gates. They'll be open from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon only. Then Sunday will look much like Thanksgiving Day, with the Bentley Gate and Key Gate West being your only options to get on and off the installation. And now it's important to note that all gates and visitor welcome centers will return to normal hours on Monday, the first day of December. And registration is still open for a number of upcoming youth sports leagues on Fort Sill. For youth wanting to take part in the Reindeer 5K run, there will be a free training sessions. They'll be taking place at the Pritchard Field track. Registration for that training closes on Tuesday. Now you'll have until Monday, December 1st to register for the upcoming free youth wrestling camp. That's open to ages 6 through 12. And then mark your calendars for December 19th, because there are a number of youth leagues which have registration deadlines on that day. That includes the Smart Start basketball program for kids ages 3 and 4, Freedom Elementary's basketball for ages 5 through 9, the YMCA 10 through 12-year-old basketball, and basketball cheerleading for ages 5 through 12. And of course, the Youth Center Girls Volleyball League. And remember that volunteer coaches are still needed, and kids play for free, so that's a little advantage you could take right there. But you can learn more by contacting Fort Sill MWR's office, or you can go to the WebTrack website. Fifth graders at Freedom Elementary School on Fort Sill got to learn a lot about how to properly treat the American flag. During Flags for Fifth Graders, cadets from MacArthur High School JROTC program visited to teach students about proper flag etiquette. The senior Army instructor of the JROTC program talked about some of the important and often overlooked actions to correctly treat the American flag.
Well, the goal is to help the fifth graders understand what the Pledge of Allegiance means, but we also want to help them understand the meaning of the flag, how to show proper respect to the flag, what to do when they see the flag at a parade, or if they're indoors, just the proper etiquette of the United States flag.
Now, they'll also be out at Pioneer Park in Carriage Hills today. The U.S. military is intensifying its buildup around Venezuela. The latest developments from the Caribbean are coming up after the break.
This 7 News broadcast is sponsored by Southwest Buick GMC.
A man charged in a deadly hit and run from 2023 has been sentenced.
7 News is working for you.
The Lawton Firefighters Association is raising awareness about critical staffing issues.
Your first alert for what's next.
We're just going to see dry conditions, mostly sunny skies.
Uncovering breaking stories that impact Texoma.
The city of Lawton's Ward 2 councilman has announced his resignation.
Checking facts and finding solutions. 7 News, working for you every night at 5 and 6. Your first alert forecast with meteorologist Michael Amanqua.
Well, good morning, everyone. Looking at our current temperatures, a little bit cooler than yesterday, and that has to do with the fact that we do have a Pacific cool front that is currently moving to the area. Not really going to knock our temperatures that much, but given the fact that this upper level energy has started to move towards the north and northeast, we're drying out with no precipitation right now. We're currently at 56 degrees here in Lawton and Fort Sill, 57 in Anadarko, and in Wichita Falls, 56, in Chickasha, 55 in Duncan. A little bit cooler towards the northwest at 51 in Elk City, 49 in Hobart, 55 in Altus, 49 in Childress, and in Paducah. Looking compared to where we were 24 hours ago, we're between 7 to 13 degrees cooler, especially towards our western and southwestern counties. And looking at the relative humidity values, they are quite high, so that's why we're seeing some patchy fog across the area, or at least some of that fog has lifted. So general low clouds across the area. We're not seeing any clouds in the upper level as our storm system has pushed well off towards the north and northeast, and winds are starting to switch to the southwest anywhere between 5 and 15 miles per hour. There is our Pacific cool front currently moving through the region, and you can see our upper level storm system, it continues to push off towards the north and the northeast. Now back behind it, another cool front will be making its way throughout the day, so that will switch our winds to the northwest, and that will bring a little bit of cooler air into the region. And then as you look out to the west coast, our next storm system that will be impacting us by the time we get into your Sunday, late Sunday, into your early Monday morning, that will be coming, giving us maybe another decent shot of some heavy rain.
Well, Army Human Resources Command just released guidance on the new Mexican Border Defense Medal, or MBDM. That medal was recently approved by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to recognize service members deployed to the U.S.-Mexico border. The period of the award for the new MBDM is from January 20th, 2025 through a future date yet to be determined. Soldiers awarded the Armed Forces Service Medal, or AFSM, for a border mission between April 7th of 2018 and January 19th of 2025 will retain that AFSM. Those who receive the AFSM between January 20th of this year and August 12th may be eligible to convert their AFSM to the new MBDM. It's important to note that soldiers awarded the AFSM before or after January 20th, 2025 are not eligible for both medals for the same period of service. They can either wear the AFSM or apply to convert it to the new MBDM. Both are not authorized for that same period of service. For full information, you can consult the Milper message 25-431. Well, the U.S. military appears to be intensifying buildup off of Venezuela. Newly released images show the U.S. Marines conducting training missions, including a live fire exercise. ABC's Matt Rivers has the latest.
New images tonight showing U.S. Marines training here in Trinidad and Tobago. Multiple Osprey aircraft carrying out joint exercises with the local military as the U.S. ramps up pressure on Venezuela. For weeks, Marines from the same unit conducting live fire training operations across the Caribbean. Harrier fighter jets bombing targets. It comes as the New York Times reports President Trump signed off on additional covert CIA operations inside Venezuela that could lay the groundwork for a bigger military campaign, citing multiple people briefed on the matter. The president saying this week he is not ruling out putting U.S. troops on the ground in Venezuela.
I don't rule out anything. We just have to take care of Venezuela.
The Times also reporting Trump authorized a new round of back-channel negotiations with Venezuela's president Nicolás Maduro, who reportedly offered to step down after a few years, but the White House rejected that plan.
Matt Rivers, ABC News.
Speaker Mike Johnson is distancing himself from the president after several members of Congress suggested military members should not follow unlawful orders from the president. The latest developments are next on Good Morning Fort Sill.
A man charged in a deadly hit and run from 2023 has been sentenced.
7 News is working for you.
The Lawton Firefighters Association is raising awareness about critical staffing issues.
Your first alert for what's next.
We're just going to see dry conditions, mostly sunny skies.
Uncovering breaking stories that impact Texoma.
The city of Lawton's Ward 2 councilman has announced his resignation.
Checking facts and finding solutions. 7 News, working for you every night at 5 and 6.
There's been a lot of discussion in the last 24 hours surrounding the U.S. Coast Guard stance on divisive and hate symbols, including swastikas and nooses, initially sparked by reports including one from the Washington Post. However, the Coast Guard has issued a strong clarification in a press release that was posted yesterday. They stated in part, quote, the U.S. Coast Guard announced the release of a policy and lawful order that doubles down on its current policies prohibiting the display, distribution, or use of hate symbols by Coast Guard personnel. That policy and lawful order provides clear definitions, guidance, and expectations for Coast Guard personnel. It describes prohibited hate symbols in alignment with military policy. Now, the Coast Guard did also clarify that this was not a policy update, but rather a new policy to combat misinformation, and double down on the fact that the U.S. Coast Guard forbids these symbols. The full policy and lawful order can be viewed at news.uscg.mil. Well, President Donald Trump is calling a video Democrats released seditious behavior and says it is punishable by death. The video targeted members of the military, saying they should not follow unlawful orders from the president. Washington correspondent Brandon Cullerton has the latest story from Capitol Hill.
Democratic leadership has now contacted Capitol Police about protection, arguing President Donald Trump's social media posts amount to death threats. The Trump administration says Democrats are threatening to upend the U.S. military's chain of command.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
This video, released by Democrats, drew a furious response from President Trump. He posted it is dangerous, seditious behavior punishable by death, and reposted someone else who said George Washington would have hanged them.
Let's be crystal clear. The President of the United States is calling for the execution of elected officials. This is an outright threat, and it's deadly serious.
Reporters asked White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt about the posts.
Does the president want to execute members of Congress?
No. Let's be clear about what the president is responding to.
Leavitt says the video from Democrats was dangerous for the country.
To signal to people serving under this commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, that you can defy him and you can betray your oath of office. That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law.
Democrats argue the president's rhetoric can cause violence.
Some of his supporters may very well listen. He is lighting a match in a country soaked with political gasoline.
Leavitt says it will be up to the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense to determine whether the members of Congress will face charges. In Washington, I'm Brendan Cullerton.
Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson distanced himself from President Trump's comments on Thursday. Johnson conceded that he wouldn't have used the same language as the president, but he emphasized that it was dangerous for the 6 members of Congress to encourage service members to refuse illegal orders.
The words that the president chose are not the ones that I would use, okay? Obviously, I don't think that these are crimes punishable by death or any of that, okay? But what the point that we need to emphasize here is that members of Congress and the Senate and the House should not be telling troops to disobey orders. It is dangerous. It damages our military and our national security. And I can't even believe that this is a controversy. I mean, what they did was, I think, unprecedented in American history, and it should be called out. And that's what the president is expressing, his frustration and concern about that. That is all of our concerns. Sometimes he uses heated rhetoric, okay? But do any of you agree that that's appropriate, that they should be telling young members of the military to defy orders? You should think about the implications of that.
Some of the newly freed Israeli hostages who were released from Gaza under the U.S. brokered ceasefire plan met with President Donald Trump at the White House this week. Trump met with 17 people who were held captive by Hamas, as well as their loved ones. All of the hostages were released by Hamas last month. Each of the survivors were handed a presidential challenge coin. And we're learning more about the Trump administration's plan to end the war in Ukraine. A draft of the 28-point peace proposal would require land concessions and limit the size of Ukraine's military. Many of the ideas in the plan have been rejected in previous negotiations by Ukraine and European leaders and would be seen as concessions to Russia. But U.S. officials said any final agreement would require concessions from both sides. After meeting a top U.S. military official on Thursday, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky agreed to work with the Trump administration on the new plan. And an 83-year-old Army veteran that received keys to a new home Thursday after losing his house of 50 years to Hurricane Helene. Stanley Wilmot served in the U.S. Army and lost his longtime home when the hurricane struck. The Home Builders Association of Greater Aiken and Augusta built a replacement home for him. They paired up with more than a dozen home builders, carpenters, plumbers, and contractors to repair this home and get the keys back to the hands of someone who's put his life on the line for our country.
Here's your first alert forecast with meteorologist Michael Amankwa.
As we go throughout this morning, temperatures will be in the 50s, and then as we go throughout the rest of your day, we will continue to have this cool front, Pacific cool front push off towards the east. Another cool front will be making its way into our region, switching our winds from the west to the northwest. We will remain dry, and as you go into Saturday morning, and again, partly cloudy to mostly clear skies is possible. And then as you go throughout much of your Saturday, partly cloudy skies is to be expected. Now, going into your Sunday, that's when things start getting interesting. Our next storm system will be getting closer. We'll hold off on rain chances until you get to your Sunday afternoon and evening. While these kind of showers and a few thunderstorms are possible, right now severe weather is not a big deal. By the time we get into your Monday, a lot of this activity pushes off towards the east, and then as you go through Monday afternoon, we start to clearing out with mostly sunny skies. And going into your Tuesday, we will remain clear right before another stronger cold front moves into the area by the time you get to your Wednesday. So a high of 72 degrees today with partly cloudy skies, clearing out to mostly sunny skies. Winds will be switching from the southwest to the northwest, anywhere between 5 and 15 miles per hour, down to a low 44 tonight with mostly clear skies, and it will be relatively cool. Northwest winds at 0 to 5 miles per hour. And then tomorrow, a high of 64 degrees with partly cloudy skies and the mild conditions, winds switching to the north at 0 to 10. Looking at the 7-day forecast, we remain dry on your Saturday as well. Our next storm system moves into the area by the time we get into your Sunday, and then we slowly warm up into Monday and Tuesday before we cool off again on your Wednesday.
Well, thanks for watching Good Morning Fort Sill. You can always check the 7 News app today for the latest updates and breaking news.